Hi there, and welcome to the Cult of Comics. This is something that I've been meaning to do for a while. Hey there, Heroic. Welcome, man. And that I've been longing to do for quite a while. Hey, Dustin, welcome. And I got it right here, dude. Thank you so much. Dustin sent me the Anaconda set. This is the only movies, like non-comics, that I'll be talking about tonight, by the way. Which I'm going to be watching this weekend probably with my cuz. Well, actually, I don't think I've seen them. Tonight we are going to go through some comic news, both screen and page. And I've been wanting to do this for a while. I've been asked if I was ever going to do this as a live video. For those that are on my Patreon, you have seen Call to Comic videos popping up. I love it, man. And it's got a way better looking box than the original one did. Like way better. You've seen me do videos on comics, on omnibuses, on a whole bunch of different things. A future note for you guys, coming up tomorrow, I did my first What Really Scares You video with Heath from Serial at Midnight. So you'll be able to see that one on that'll come up tomorrow morning. I think we'll be putting the Whatever Scares You with Serial at Midnight video. And that's a fun one. I will be going through a lot of different things tonight. We'll be talking about the Marvel issues with Konan. We'll be talking about the She-Hulk trailer, which I haven't watched yet. So we're going to watch that together, except I'm going to keep the sound down because, as you know, any like music or anything on there, like copyright. So before we watch the She-Hulk trailer video, I'll let you guys know in case you guys want to watch it on your screen as well. And I'll give you my honest reactions live. I have been collecting comics since I can remember, even long before I started collecting films. Comics were my gateway into movies, and that's kind of the way it went. And it kind of came full circle recently when I decided that I wanted to start reading and collecting again. We will go over the stuff that's coming out over the next few months. I will give a review on a title that I'm kind of excited to talk about, and we'll talk about other things as well. Anything that you guys can, throw at me. But please, for this video here, hey there, John, welcome, man. Hey there, William. We're going to try to keep it on topic in the fact that it's going to be comics as opposed to like the films. We'll talk comic films and stuff like that, and I'll give some hot takes. So expect that as well. So just to start out, before we go into anything else, I guess the best thing to do is, for the inaugural one is to do, like, to watch with the sound down, I guess. I got my earphones here, but I don't need them for this, I don't think. Let's look at the She-Hulk trailer. I'm actually kind of excited. I waited for you guys for this. So if anybody hasn't seen it, what we're going to do right now is going to take, I think it's only like a minute or 2 minutes long. We're going to take a look at the She-Hulk trailer that I haven't seen, and I've got the sound muted on it, so you don't hear the sound. That's okay. But we'll look at the actual visuals. I'll give you my commentary on it, and that's the best way to give my commentary as well. We got that up there. So let's look at the She-Hulk trailer. And see how it goes. Let's not look at Listerine, right? Okay. Okay, so I'm guessing it's done. I'm super stoked about this because I'm a huge fan of She-Hulk, the character, and I really, really love the actress that they chose. She's from a series called Orphan Black that was shot in Canada. Things are going by really quick, so we'll probably look this again later. But I'm guessing that's for... we got the Abomination, so we got Tim Roth as the Abomination here. Hulk, of course, is going to be in it. So that I really dig. We're kind of getting like glimpses of She-Hulk. Not a ton. Not a lot so far. I do know the run that they're... Okay, so... It doesn't look like the it's totally finished from what I can tell. But the size of She-Hulk is perfect. She-Hulk shouldn't be any bulkier, bigger than what we're seeing right here on the screen. Did I just see? Uh, okay, I'm a big geek here. Uh, did I see Frogman? Did we see Frogman on the screen? Did we see Peter Davis freaking Frogman show up in this? This is definitely taking the humor slant. That's for sure. It's definitely different. So, did anybody watch this earlier? Did you see the She-Hulk trailer earlier? Unfortunately, because of like music and stuff and rights and that, I couldn't actually listen to the sound on the She-Hulk trailer. But from what I can see, we got ourselves the Abomination in this one. We got Frogman. Frogman's a character that I'm pretty sure Peter David created, which it sounds like a very Peter David thing. It's going to go for the more humorous aspects of She-Hulk, which is good because that's when She-Hulk really kind of blossomed. For those that have never collected or read She-Hulk before, and you're kind of wondering going in if there's anything that you can read, then I would recommend the John Byrne run on She-Hulk for like kind of like the starting point. If you want like a more modern run, like probably a Charles Soule, but 9/7's nice, Giving. But I'd say start with John Byrne for sure. So, what is everybody's thoughts on it so far? He said the same thing. Uh, it's going to be kind of cool. I mean, this is going to be more of a humorous take for people that didn't read the She-Hulk or just think of the Hulk. Some people I saw a couple like I shouldn't read things online before I watch things, but a guy said like, isn't the Hulk series supposed to be angry? Uh, Not since about the 1970s, really. But unless you're like going to Immortal Hulk, and that's horror. But She-Hulk's always been more of a comedic character. Now, She-Hulk came out in 1980. The character's name is Jennifer Walters, and she is the cousin to Bruce Banner. She is injured, and she becomes at the time the Savage She-Hulk. The Savage She-Hulk lasted for a little bit. It didn't do that great. It was brought back by John Byrne, who was probably most famous for reinventing Superman after the Crisis on Infinite Earths, and for doing a lot of really good work on X-Men as well. He brought like She-Hulk and brought her to. So think of She-Hulk if you've never like read anything as kind of like almost like a Deadpoolish type character, in that She-Hulk will be breaking the fourth wall. Hopefully she do it in the series too. So she breaks the fourth wall in the comic all the time. There's actually parts in the comic where she kind of, hey there, Antoine, welcome, man. Where she goes outside the comic book and talks to John Byrne, and they make a joke over the fact that she's pretty much, hot kind of jiggle material, uh, and she kind of like plays off on that. She also a liar, and she usually works with super villains and superheroes. So we'll probably see more than we've seen on there. If it went by so fast, I'm gonna expect Charlie Cox's Daredevil, or sorry, Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock to be on the show as well. So if you're a fan of Daredevil and the series, you're going to probably see a crossover here. It's definitely kind of a tongue-in-cheek play on the Harvey Birdman with the attorney at law thing. So actually, I kind of like that. That's exciting. CGI looks like it's not finished, so I'm waiting to see how that goes. But with the quality of actors they've gotten and the people that are behind She-Hulk, I have no worries. That I'm a huge freaking She-Hulk fan. The fact that She-Hulk is going to be on a screen and I'm going to be able to see She-Hulk, that's amazing to me. The fact that Frogman, who don't know what issue. The issue of Marvel Team Up with the White Rabbit on it. It's like Spider-Man and Frogman. I had that when I was a kid. And 36, dude, he's nice. Kubrick bought 9, you bought 36. See, I can inspire you. Did you buy me and Antoine? But I'm super stoked about this. I don't know what else I have to say. If you guys have anything else to say, definitely comment down below, because we're going to go into the next section of it. But like for those that want to start out right now, start with John Byrne, read Charles Soule. Dan Slott did a decent run on She-Hulk, as did Peter David. But for anybody that thinks like the Hulk is always a super serious character, I would check out the longest and most lauded run on the Incredible Hulk, and that will be Peter David's run, which is probably the best Incredible Hulk run that you're going to see. You can buy them in omnibus format. 2, 3, and 4 is coming out very soon, so you'll that pretty much gets it all. 15, nice. Hey there, Matt. See, what you guys have to do is when you get your bundle, your hauls, and you want to help the channel. When you get your hauls, and you inevitably put it on your Twitter and Instagram feed, tag me. Tag me and let Sever know that I'm doing the Lord's work for Sever. Hey, Dag, welcome, man. We just watched the She-Hulk trailer on here. I'm stoked about the series. We're going to be looking at, I guess the next thing we're going to talk about before I go any further is we're going to talk about Konan, because that's a huge deal. This is kind of upsetting for some people, but when Marvel started really pushing out the Konan omnibuses at a rapid fire rate, I think a lot of us were nervous that the licensing agreement was going to be ending. But I think we all thought that it wasn't going to end until at least all the books were out. And at this point, it looks like that may not be the case. Now, there has been 2 camps on this one right here. Hey, happy birthday, Alan, man. Well, hope you're having a fantastic birthday. Here's the thing. It's been said that Marvel has lost complete rights to Konan. The end of the year, that's it. That's what they're getting. Once it's at the end of the year, whatever's coming out, that's what's coming out. Anything that's already been solicited will go, but that's nothing else after that. However, I've also heard that they can't do anything new with Konan, and they can put out the newer, the older reprint stuff, but only just so that finishes off. And when that's done, it's done. Any rights are gone. But right now, it's in a kind of in a murky territory where we don't know for sure. But at this point, go at the fact that they no longer have the rights to Konan. 2-film collection. It's the anniversary, Andrew. Today is the 40th anniversary of Konan film. So you picked a good day to buy them. And one of the big concerning reasons for that, guys, is when I started collecting some Konan stuff, I bought these Dark Horse telephone book size of Konan. I got them upstairs. I'm not going to bring them down right now, but they were okay. They weren't great, but they were okay. You got the story, but the paper quality wasn't very good. It could bleed a bit, could get a bit muddy. But what Marvel has been doing, have been putting up both Konan series, as in they put up Conan the Barbarian, the color comics they did, and they've been putting up the black and white magazine Savage Sword of Konan. This here is an omnibus for Conan the Barbarian. This is an Alex Ross cover. The work that goes into these things is insane. A lot of omnibuses, if you've ever seen them, kind of, they just start, but not these. These have like introductions after introductions. They have maps to start them out. You got a whole ton of reading, even before you get to the comics, right? So you get to the comics. It is the greatest. Was it Frank Frazetta? I thought it was Alex Ross. So man, I apologize. Now you'll see on the back they'll have that there, and even in the back they'll have like extras and articles and all kinds of stuff on Conan. So you get everything when it comes to the character. This series here, the Color Conan series that was done in comic book format originally, runs 10 volumes. All 10 volumes by the end of this year. Do I think Forgotten Jolly Volume 4 will last until Black Friday? I think it shall actually. Volume 4, yes. That's when I do think it'll last. There's 10 volumes in total. The end of the year, 9 and 10 come out. So if you're a fan, like Andrew, you're a fan of the art, stuff like that, the last 2 volumes of Conan that are coming out, 9 and 10, have, I think, Todd Mcfarlane and Jim Lee covers. And they're friggin' glorious. Is anybody else here collecting the Conan stuff? Or has anybody thought about collecting Conan stuff? You guys are so quiet. Because where Dark Horse are doing really good with their Black Hammer and their library editions like Madman, stuff like that, which I do recommend. Their earlier Conan stuff was definitely on the cheaper side. That was on the go for quite a while, Andrew. I'm not quite sure if it's still happening. He was going to come back as King Conan. Actually, that brings up the question, like Andrew, because King Conan, the comic book, Volume 1, the first 19 issues, has been solicited for this year. If Marvel loses the rights and they're not able to print any Conan next year, Andrew, that'll mean that we'll have the first volume of King Conan, but we won't get a second volume. So it'll be interesting to see over the next few days exactly what Marvel has to say about like the rights issues. We know that they are losing the rights for sure. We just don't know. I know there's been differing reports. As far as I know, the Arnold movie was still coming, but it's one that actually I want to thank you, Kubrick, for coming in, because where this is a comic book video, the fact that you didn't leave right away because it wasn't my regular video, I appreciate that. Hey there, Steven. So you've only seen the first 2 Arnold Conan movies and loved them both. I find that the second one, like first one, I love a lot. The second one I love even more, actually, because the second one really has that kind of. I know they say they kind of like reined in a bit, but it still has a Conan comic booky feel to it, and they're fantastic films. I wasn't a huge fan of the newer Conan film, the modern one that was done. It was okay, but it was like, for me, it was just okay. But as for what's being solicited, we're going to look into that right now. That's why I had the Amazon thing up here originally. Yeah, like when it comes to the. Well, let's find out exactly what's available right now. Yeah, sorry. Red Sonja is owned by a different company, Antoine. Red Sonja is owned by Dark Horse. So Conan cannot be shown in Marvel. Like Red Sonja can only be in Marvel Comics when it's a crossover story that is Red Sonja. So if, for instance, there is a 3-part story and 2 parts of that story are in Conan with Red Sonja, and there's a 3rd part in a Red Sonja because she had her own comic back in the day, and she still does over in Dark Horse. but original comic, right? So when she, thank you, Dustin, man, I really appreciate that. When she, so they can print reprint the Conan issues, but they cannot reprint the Red Sonja issue. So they'd have to basically have, if there's anything that's missing, they'd have to put, okay, well, a little descriptor page saying this is what happened in the Red Sonja issue. They would not legally be able to print the Red Sonja issue. Only Dark Horse can do that. And as far as I know, Dark Horse still has retained the rights to Red Sonja. So it's pretty safe there. Red Sonja, Queen Sonja, because just like there's a King Conan, there's a Queen Sonja series as well, which will happen there. So let's dive into it right now. I'll show you what's available, and I'll give you some hints on where to go, where to start if you're interested. Caldor supposed to be Conan, really? So Dark Horse had done like Conan for a long period of time, and this here is pretty much the Dark Horse run. This is Kurt Busiek, Fabian Yesa. There's a ton of people worked on this, but Kurt Busiek's pretty much the guy that was a writer for Conan during its Dark Horse era. You can get this one. Now, this is the Amazon CA. There's Amazon.com, which we can check out later, but just to know that it's available. There is volumes 9 and 10. I'm going to show you both of these volumes here, so you can see the kind of covers that go on some of these here. So I love the artwork on this one right here. But for me, it's volume 10. I've pre-ordered both of these. They were actually luckily cheaper yesterday. This here, if you can tell, if you're a comic book fan, this artwork is by Todd Mcfarlane, and this Conan is very reminiscent, in a way that he did the Incredible Hulk as well when he worked on the Hulk with Peter David. Todd McFarlane did a run on the Incredible Hulk before Spider-Man with Peter David, and that would follow up with guys like Dale Keown, and you got like Bruce Jones, people working on it. But still, this is the pretty ripped. Have I seen the Sin City Deluxe editions? Sean, welcome, man. I have. I don't own them, but I have seen them. I want that big damn Sin City book, but I'm kind of worried about the binding on it. Like, I had a chance to get the the big massive book at one point for really cheap, but I lost the contact information for the guy that had it. So when next time I go into Newfoundland, one, I'll drop by you. Sean is an incredible artist, by the way. Works with t-shirts. Frank Frazetta did a lot of art for a lot of Conan covers. He did some Conan interior art as well, Andrew. He worked a lot when it comes to the Savage sort of Conan, which we'll mention here as well. So there's two versions of these Conan books that are coming out. Two different ones. So down here you can see is volume 7, Conan the Barbarian, the original Marvel years, volume 7. They're pushing those out like crazy. But here is right here. This is the Conan, the Savage Sword of Conan. So these are not only done in black and white, but they use a lot of really kind of bigger artists for the series. That's when you find like Frank Frazetta. You find people like Val Merrick on here, Alfredo Alcala. You get Big Yambasema. You get Frank Frazetta. You get Boris doing like covers for it. This is a black and white magazine. So if you want, so let's just say you're not into like comics per se, but you kind of like Conan, you like fantasy. These here black and white ones are done. Now here's the thing: they're not for your kids. Don't get them for your kids. These things have nudity. They have serious violence in them. These are definitely they're not your mommies and daddies Conans. Let's just see if I can some of the covers that are done here. This is on the later stuff as well. It was done in magazine format, so these were larger. Every one of these omnibuses are usually bigger size ones. You can see like the artwork on here. And you can see where it says on this one right here, plus the origin of Red Sonja, right? So this would have the Conan story, but the Red Sonja like solo story would not be allowed to be printed in this book. It's just amazing the quality of the art that goes into these books, and the art on the inside too definitely matches a lot of the art that you see here. This one right here, I'm pretty sure, is that Ocala? It looks a lot like a Freda Ocala. I've been reading a lot of Creepy and Eerie magazine recently from the archives that I got, and that has a very kind of a Freda Ocala style look to it, but it could be Frazetta too. And as you can see, this volume right here includes the official comic book adaptation of Conan the Barbarian, the first movie. So that's actually kind of cool that they include that there as well. So it includes all these Savage Sword of Conan issues, plus Conan the Barbarian, the official comic book adaptation of the film is included right here along with the others. This is a really good one. This is volume 6, by the way, in case you want to know which volume had the Conan adaptation in it. Here is the one I spoke about before. This is King Conan. This is Conan basically in his later years. It was a comic. It's 2 volumes should suffice the entire run on King Conan, but face to face with Thoth Amon, which is pretty much his big villain, played by James Earl Jones in the movie actually. But the concern right now is that this is coming out, and this is coming out in June. That unless they really push through some Conan books, that we won't see another Conan. Won't see volume 2 of this. And in the omnibus world, things going out of print and things not getting a second volume is it's a pretty normal regular thing that we have to deal with. Volume 8 is available, so 8, 9, 10 will be available. 5 and 6 are available. I'm not quite sure if 4 is there. As you can see, there's volume 5 of Savage Sword of Conan. If you're like getting into Conan and you've never read Conan before, Savage Sword is probably a good entry point. Whereas the original Marvel years does tend to get a bit more serialized in their storylines, in the fact that you can have like 8 and 10 like issue story arcs that'll go through. They can actually stand on their own, but most of them they do kind of go together. So read Hellblazer is a fantastic book. Which Hellblazer are you reading? Are you reading like the older school Hellblazer? Or are you starting on like the newer DC stuff? I read the Grant Morrison era, obviously, and James Delano. But I'd say start with a Savage Sword. That's usually the best starting place for any Conan fan, especially if you're a fan of the Conan films. Then you want to start with Savage Sword of Conan. And we'll get back to that in a second. I did plan to have a couple guests on here tonight, but unfortunately, they couldn't make it, and I wasn't quite sure. Can I be honest, guys? I wasn't quite sure if I was going to have the nerve to make this video. I've been wanting to make a Cult of Comics live video for a long time, and over the last month or so, I've sat down at my computer at least 12 times to make this video. But I was worried you guys wouldn't come in. So thank you. Like, really, this is something I'm passionate about, and hopefully that comes across and doesn't come across as just a ramble. We actually get more structure to it. I will be doing more of these in the future. I'll be trying to get some guests on to talk about some of their some stuff that they're collecting, some of their favorites. We'll be going over different like some of the newer stuff, some of the older stuff. I had planned to do a section on Wally Wood, but I might leave that for a pre-tape video. For those that don't know who Wally Wood is, He was probably the first superstar, kind of rock star comic book artist. If you were lived in the days of Image Comics and you know about Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld and Mark Silvestri and all those guys, Will Potato, then you're going to know that those guys were huge, to the point where when they went to comic book stores to sign their comics, their Image Comics, it was like people would line up like crazy. It was a big deal. The first time that a comic book artist ever got that type of, like, a comic book artist ever got that type of acclaim initially was a guy by the name of Wally Woods, who worked with EC Comics, did a lot of the Tales from the Crypt, did some of the science fiction stuff as well, and went on to work with Marvel, with DC, with kind of his sort of his own imprint with some characters called Thunder Agents, which I'll get into a bit more because unfortunately, it's a bit. I find it interesting, and it does not have the best ending. But Wally Woods was an extremely interesting character, so watch out for that video. I'm not sure if I'll put that one on here or I'll put that one on Patreon because um, there's some dark, dark moments in the life of Wally Woods, unfortunately. I have one more omnibus coming, which is probably gonna be the last one for a while right now, and that is the Golden Age Batman Volume 3. I got it through Zabby. Zabby had a sale at the time, and just to let you guys know, this is the Great Britain Zabby, but it doesn't matter anyway. So I got mine from the American Zabby, but here on Zabby, every once in a while, if you keep an eye out, guys, you can find an omnibus at really cheap prices. So this Batman one right here, DC Comics one, it's 24 pounds. I think it's 39 $35 in American and 41 in Canadian. Obviously, there's a code on there right now to even get more off. Um, this is like a huge book. The very first omnibus that I ever bought from Zabby was thanks to a comic book guy by the name of BJ Kicks, who does a lot of videos on here. And that was Chris Claremont's Marvel Universe that I bought on Zabby for $9.99. And about 3 weeks later, I checked on Zabby again, and they had Dan Jurgens' Thor Volume 1 for $20. So just to kind of give you an idea, an omnibus is a huge book. They usually cost anywhere between, if you get them on a good day, like $90 to $195. They're not cheap or to collect. They definitely, you definitely got to put away the bones for these here. This one does have a Darwin Cook artwork on it, and I love the artwork Darwin Cook, so that was also a plus in getting this. Sean said he's been reading Hellblazer, which is a comic that I do love and I do recommend. If you can get the early Vertigo stuff from Hellblazer to Sandman, maybe some House Mystery, House of Secrets. I'm iffy on those because I like the old anthology style. But I want to bring this video over to you that are watching right now, live. Whether you are into comics or you're into comic movies, let me know what excites you or what you're interested in. All right, whether it be a Marvel Plus movie, a DC movie. If you have a question on a hot take on anything, hey James, welcome, man. I do actually. I have all 6 trade paperbacks of Garth Ennis's Preacher upstairs. I did read it on its initial run, so I used to have the floppies of them. But I right now, the last time I was in St. John's in Newfoundland, where I'm from. I went into a store, and it was my second last day in Newfoundland. I went to this comic shop that's close by to where my mom lives, because I was staying at my mom's at the time. And I'm going through these all these, like, the back issues, and they got some graphic novels, and I find Roger Stern's, like, A Hobgoblin Lives, there, and I got to grab it because it's not part of the Roger Stern Spider-Man omnibus, right? So I pick it up, and right next to it, for $5 is Preacher, Volume 6, and I'm like, damn! If all the volumes of Preacher were here, I would definitely pick them up because I knew the 6th volume was the last volume. And then I flick forward, and Preacher Volume 5, Volume 4, Volume 3, Volume 1. I couldn't find Volume 2 right away, so I started looking around, and I went up to the counter, spoke with the girl at the counter, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm sure it's there." So she went back, was able to find it in like a couple minutes, and she had actually left the store open after closing time to find Preacher Volume 2 for me because my better half, she's a huge comic book fan, not of like ongoing comics, but of comics that have a definitive like beginning, middle, end. She likes the Vertigo stuff. She likes Preacher. She likes Sandman. She likes that style. So I called my better half. I said, I just got in my hands the 6 volumes of Preacher. I'm really thinking to pick them up, but I bought a lot already. Do you want them? And she's like, get them immediately. For those that don't know, Garth Ennis, who's doing The Boys, who did The Boys, which is a show that I'm sure many of you guys are watching on Amazon, and did a comic and was a TV series for a while too, called Preacher. The comic is incredible. It's really, really good. So if you've never checked it out, it is violent and funny and weird and unique, and utterly fantastic, from the art to the story. If you're not a comic book, if you've never been a comic book fan before, if like you're looking at Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, that does nothing for you, then what you want to find is this Vertigo stuff. You want to find things like Preacher. You want to find things like Sleeper. You want to find things like Hellblazer. You want to find comics like Sandman and Fables. That is what will spark your love of the genre if you're not into like the regular comic book superhero stuff, because comics go way beyond the scope of a superhero comic. They go way beyond a Spider-Man or a Guardians of the Galaxy even. They go way beyond a Batman or a Superman. There are so much more that's out there right now. Vertigo ran a series of, if you're a film noir fan, for instance, and I know some of you guys here are fans of film noir, Vertigo ran a series of one-shot, basically not like graphic novels, that are called Vertigo Noir. And what they are is, it is a noir film basically in a in the oh my god, in graphic novel form. And it's this new book, World War II book, The Lion and the Key. I haven't seen it yet. I definitely want to check it out, because I do like a lot of Garth Ennis' stuff. So I can't imagine not liking this one. For those that have never checked out Garth Ennis, I definitely recommend it. And they're doing like there is a kind of a spin-off of Boys, right, James? Like I haven't seen it yet, but there is a cartoon series as well. And for many of you people that like have watched Amazon and got Amazon Prime and you watched Invincible is a Robert Kirkman comic from the guy that made Walking Dead, which, Walking Dead is also a comic. And if you want to see the superior version of Walking Dead, if you're a fan of Walking Dead, the series, or if you fell off Walking Dead and never finished it because it kind of just looked like it's spinning its wheels, the Walking Dead comic book series, it is finished, and I think it takes maybe 4 to 5 compendiums to complete, and it's a great read. Iceman's 100 Bullets is a fantastic Vertigo title. It's done in 2 omnibuses. The second omnibus is coming up very soon, if it's not already out by now. So 100 Bullets basically has this concept where it's almost an anthology concept at the beginning there, where you're given someone's given a gun and bullets to basically kind of exact revenge to and whether they do it or not, or what happens or the consequences of it, you find out as you read through the stories, and it gets more intense as it goes along. And it's one of those that you can really kind of sink your teeth to and read. So if you read like the older, if you like gangster stuff, if you like noir stuff, if you like crime things, if you're a Quentin Tarantino fan, then stuff like 100 Bullets is probably what you're going to want to look towards. So as scary as it seems, when there's so many different comics out there, if you give me a genre of film that you like, I will try and give you a comic that I think can go with that genre. If you're a spaghetti western, if you're a fan, if you want like the westerny style stuff, there is some great stuff out there. There's stuff like the Rawhide Kid. There's stuff like Preacher, which is more of a modern western take story out there. Hey, the River, welcome. Got 4 or 5. Oh man, I'm so jealous of you. I've only got volume 5 of of the Conan, the original Marvel Years omnibus. But I do have a few of the Dark Horse ones. I'm trying to get as many as I possibly can before the rights are gone. So you're ahead of me. I'm not sure if you're collecting both the Marvel Years and the Savage Sword, or you're just collecting the one or the other. But you got a good chance of getting all the Marvel Years, especially if you're 4 or 5 like volumes in. But Savage Sword, I'm not quite sure. But a lot of if you've picked up the original Savage Sword of Conan with red nails, I'm so jealous. Because there's so many different ones that we can look into and we can talk about. And we'll focus. I'll do a more focused videos on different comics and different ones. So the best way you can see some of this stuff and to see me do some like pre-tape stuff on this as well is please, if you get the chance, I do make the comic videos, pre-tape ones. Watch it, give it a like. Eventually, trust me, I will find a book that will intrigue you enough that you at least want to pick up an issue, or at least want to read it, or get yourself one of those digital things, like my friend Heath from Seven Midnight does. He does most of his comics digitally now because he's got a ton of comic books and he's trying to think of ways to save space. And as a guy that's got like thousands upon thousands of movies packed up, I understand that. But Vertigo is a great place. If you think comic books are kiddie stuff, then look at Vertigo. The modern day equivalent of Vertigo, by the way, guys, is Black Label. Dark Horse and Trades. Dark Horse, Kurt Busiek's Dark Horse is incredible. Sam has a new Amazon audiobook adaptation, exactly. And not only that, but we're going to be getting a TV, like an Amazon series for which hopefully they won't cancel. Hopefully you get your place really quickly. I used to love staying in hotels, me personally, but I can understand if you're moving out of your house and you're not quite sure where you're going, and you're going into a hotel for a while, that can be kind of stressful. So enjoy your last night in the house that you're in right now. I'm sure that with the next one that you're going to get is going to be fantastic, and you're going to make brand new, amazing memories in that house. So feel free to de-stress in here. Joe 90's TV series, String Puppets. What comic book goes out? I don't know. I haven't read Joe 90's. I've watched Joe 90's. Is that if it's more along if we're talking about like science fiction one, like the marionettes type of things, or like the sort of the Stingray type of stuff, anytime, Josephine, anytime. Then I would say then you're looking towards the science fiction or a fantasy comic. I have some Barry Windsor Smith stuff. I got it in the old Dark Horse. Remember the Dark Horse like Conan phone books they put out? So I got some in that. I used to have some of the Conan Chronicles, in the color ones. Yeah, exactly, Iceman. There were Thunderbirds comics that were right there. And there are so many like style in that style. That's like, say for instance, you grew up reading the X-Men, watching the X-Men cartoon, the 90s cartoon. It had a comic book adaptation. But I would recommend you, instead of reading the comic book adaptation of the X-Men cartoons, go out and read the Chris Claremont era stuff. And if you don't like the older style stuff, you want to read newer, then you can jump in on Astonishing X-Men by Whedon, or you could start it with Grant Morrison's new X-Men run, which is extremely good. Modern day run on the X-Men, you're going to want to start with Jonathan Hickman. And you're going to want to start with one thing, and one thing, like, very importantly, it is House of X, Power of X. That's your start right there, because you're going to want to get the omnibus, and probably pick up Ten of Swords as well. Watch Running Time snaps. Lose my voice there, guys. I do apologize. I kind of remember the movie Josephine. I kind of remember it. I don't have that Snaps one actually. Hopefully, you saw my Snaps video yesterday because there's a ton of Snaps DVDs like that are on sale right now, and they're at insanely crazy prices. Somebody got upset with me. They wrote in, these aren't on sale. The shipping is is high," and I'm like, the prices are still low. Like it doesn't cost any difference to ship. You know, just because something goes here, I'm about to say for future reference, just because something goes on sale does not change the shipping cost that it costs to ship something out. Uh, uh, Captain Scarlet and the Mysterians actually did have a comic book, Alan, as well as a UK comic. So you're sticking with the same type of stuff. But I would say if you like that style of stuff, maybe Captain Britain. Uh, Definitely Excalibur. I would definitely recommend Excalibur. Because you got to be in the right type of mood and right mindset to read Captain Britain. But Excalibur, just so good. But yeah, like it doesn't change. So what I always say is when you're looking at sales like that, when you know the company as a higher. I used to own a ton of Robert Crumb comics, Josephine, but I don't have them anymore. I had like a bunch of Zap issues, and I had his book of Filth, and a few of the other ones. so, but I don't anymore. I don't even have the movie. I got to get the movie. The documentary. It's one of my favorite documentaries. I love Robert Crumb's work. Definitely not a politically correct artist, but a very uniquely strange underground artist. I had some of his Fritz the Cat. I'm pretty sure I had that as well. Excalibur the film and the comics are extremely different. Excalibur the comic is like X-Men for people that don't want X-Men to be so serious. It's just extremely well written, and you got like people like Alan Davis working on it. So definitely, it's a uniquely weird comic book that it was a bit of a cult hit. Gotta reach. I tried. I mean, I started reading Cerberus early on, James. Now, I don't know as many with the stuff when it comes to the Australian comics. I wish James was here. I wish Jim Blank was here tonight. He did tell me. But Cerberus got a little bit too preachy for me, I guess, is the word I want to use. It got a bit weird. Did you find it? Like Cerberus started so good, and I love the artwork on it. And he had this kind of Red Sonja's character, but then it just got really. It's it seemed like the guy had some kind of manifesto that he had in his head that he was trying to go through, and maybe it turned out okay. I don't know, but I know that he said he was doing 300 issues. That's it. That was the story. So I said, "Oh, that's really good. I'm gonna start reading that." And I started reading it, but then it just got really strange. So I read a bit of Cerberus, but I didn't follow it up. I think I quit Cerberus, and at the time I started reading a bit of what was it? A bit of Airby with the character Heat and stuff like that. Yeah, Cerberus started so good and with such strong possibilities, Matt. And like you got the if you're a Spawn fan back that day, like when Todd Mcfarlane said, I'm gonna get some great comic book writers coming to write some Spawn, early issues of Spawn, and draw them. So you had like Neil Gaiman come in. You had we know that turned out right. We had you had the guy that wrote Cerberus. I can't remember his name right now. I do apologize. I think it's Dave Sim. I think his name is Dave Sim. You had like around four different at Alan Moore come in. You had four different people come in to write an issue of like a Spawn. And in the issue of Spawn that Dave Sim wrote, Cerberus is in the comic. So it's one that started it really good and got really strange. Now maybe it gets better as it goes through, but I went through this like uniquely philosophical aspect to it, which I didn't mind. It just it didn't ring with me. There's nothing wrong per se. I just kind of lost track of it, and there was other things around the time I was reading like Bone and stuff like that. Jeff Smith's Bone that I would recommend anybody. Um, there you go, Alan. You want a good comic to read? Want something that has a great story and kind of follows through right till the end? Jeff Smith's Bone. That's what you want to pick up. And I really do think, Alan, that that's going to be one that you specifically would like, actually. But right now, the last newer comic that I read is Zebwell's Amazing Spider-Man issue 1, which I got to give a strong recommendation to if you're into the super comics at all. Um, then I would definitely recommend that. Just got new Heavy Metal 4K. I think Humble Bundle, Andrew, has a you can buy like digital copies of some Heavy Metal books and magazines for like super cheap right now on Humble Bundle. So if you like the movie, you definitely got to check out the magazine. See, Heavy Metal started out in France. It was originally called Metal Hurlant, and eventually, what happened is that we got over here in North America the North American pretty much version of it. Um, it could be yeah, exactly 300 um, and it was called Heavy Metal over here in North America. A lot of great like artists worked on that. Richard Corbin, Frank Frazetta, Boris, Mobius did an amazing run of comics on there. And if you're a fan of the movie Alien, for instance, the original Alien film got done in comic book format in Heavy Metal magazine back in the early '80s. So if you've never checked out Alien, if you've never checked out the comic book version of Alien, Heavy Metal did a ran a strip basically of the Alien films. Well, you can the Savage Sword. Are they? That's pretty cool, man. Like, props to Dave Sim for doing that, man. That's a cool thing to do. Maybe I should finish that Cerebus. I got some of those. I got some of the trade paper, like the. I'm pretty sure you're talking about the same ones. I'll go grab one in a second. I'll go to show you guys. But just the quality is so much better in the omnibus. If you can get it, if you see them on sale, man, grab one. Like because the paper quality makes a huge difference in like just in looking at them. For me, some people know this, some people don't. After I went to school for journalism, I went to school for visual arts, and I used to buy a lot of black and white books to look at the pencil work and the ink work, so I could get could see them better without the color kind of getting in the way. So and I use it to like pretty much just to look at to not to copy off of, but like just to see if I could kind of get my own style. I was never that good, but just a good enough to get into visual arts, not good enough to make it a career. Uh, but because you had to have like a whole portfolio to do it. I'll grab my one of my Conan books, give you an idea, see if that's what you're talking about, and I'll be right back, guys. So thank you, by the way, for the fact that you guys have been in here, and for the people that have been in here for 53 minutes talking to me about comics and graphic novels and stuff. I never thought that this is something that I would be able to do. So you guys, you guys mean the world to me. Like this is incredible, and thank you, because I know some of you guys aren't super comic book fans, but the fact that you're sticking with it, uh, you have no idea how much I appreciate it. I'll be right back. paint color in black and white and then colorize it, but transparent. All right, so these here are the Savage Sword editions that came out from Dark Horse. They're insanely overpriced right now. Like I've seen some go for $200 or $300, which I think is crazy, actually. But this is the Savage Sword of Konan, Dark Horse Telephone Book Edition. As you can see, just by looking at the cover of this, you can tell that this is a much more adult version of the Konan character. You can see the blood dripping off the axe, kind of pouring off it. I think this is Frazetta or the art on the back. Interiors were well done for this one too, just to give you an idea. So here's an Ernie Chan pin-up of Konan right there. There's the book. Now these would be in color in the. Yeah. Now this one here I picked up as volume 4. So I think we're running at Sons of the White Wolf, actually, yeah. So is the start of this one. And we're still into Ry Thomas's era. Ry Thomas is the guy that. So this here is filled with like violence and nudity and all kinds of cool stuff. I did want to bring down to show you guys that are kind of maybe into kind of the film noir aspect of that. This was the Vertigo series that they put out. This is the first one, Filthy Rich by Brian Azzarello, and this is the Vertigo Crime, they call it. Vertigo Crime, which is their noir series. I'm going to try and show you a picture that doesn't have nudity, so we'll go with that. For those that are fans of Sin City, for instance, because I know we get some Sin City fans here, it is done very much reminiscent in a style of like you'd see in Sin City. You have got way more talent than me. This is Victor Santos. And for those that were wondering about the preacher stuff, the price tag thing, yeah. I brought down a volume of Preacher for those that kind of wondering what it was. And I brought down a specific volume for a reason, actually. And this is Preacher, Volume 3 by Garth, Ennis, and Steve Dillon. What's really good about this one is this just doesn't include issues of Preacher, which has 27 to 33, but it also has the special Saint of Killers, which is very important to the Preacher's series, and special for the Vampire Cassidy called Blood and Whiskey done in here as well. So to give you an idea, I want to make sure there's nothing there, because Preacher is, again, it's an adult series. Gotta read that. I don't think I have actually, Alan, but I'll check them out. And in the back, you'll see the. Let's see if I can find, because the covers on these are incredible. This cover right here. But up here closer is the Saint of Killers one. I think it's in the front. So there's the Saint of Killers, so very, very important. It's not actually. This is just they did a series of I guess deluxe books, Matt, and they included the spin-offs within the books. So much like you can find like regular graphic novels, and you can find deluxe graphic novels of certain comics. Those were kind of the deluxe graphic novels for Preacher. So they included the comics and included the spin-offs where the where they were at. So that would be what we call a deluxe graphic novel. See, collecting comics can get a bit confusing sometimes because we have we have an absolute. An absolute is a gigantic size book that is usually comes. It's usually DC, just DC, and it'll come in a slipcase, the same as your like that you pull out. It'll have a. It'll usually have. I do love. I don't have any Umbrella Academy, but I do have to get them. Oh, the Gun February Preacher covers are insane and great. um, and you just pull them out, and once I get not one of those, I'll show you guys. But they're bigger than omnibuses. So omnibus is the next size when it comes to the larger size ones, and then it is like oversized hardcovers. So and then you get your graphic novels, your deluxe graphic novels. By the way, your deluxe graphic novels, your graphic novels, and you get your smaller kind of like these here, which are book size. These aren't normally aren't for kids. Preacher was way ahead of its time. Preacher is fantastic here, by the way. This is a really good one. I would definitely recommend that. And if you collect Dark Horse, then Dark Horse has what they call a library edition, which is their version of an omnibus, and they are extremely well done. A library edition from Dark Horse tends to be cheaper than omnibus. The most expensive library edition I've seen so far is the Madman library editions, running anywhere from like on pre-orders from $80 to $120 usually. Trade paperback prestige edition. There you go, Matt. I guess that would be kind of like a prestige edition, kind of a deluxe edition for the Preacher. There's so many different ones to go into. A lot of them I have packed away now. I do if you ever get a chance to get any of the Creepy or Eerie archives, if you like the older school horror stuff and you liked any of the Conan stuff or any of the Preacher stuff that you saw me show today, then Creepy and Eerie magazine used. I did actually, but I don't anymore. I need to get more Hellboy. But right now, Josephine, it's been so long since I read Hellboy that I would have to start right at the beginning and read them all over again. Like I had to read Hellboy over again. I had to read BPD all over again. It's a whole world. Abe Sapien. So it's a whole world of Hellboy that I'd have to get into. Hey, Sean, welcome, man. I appreciate that, man. I really do. But yeah, I've been collecting for a while. I was going to open up a comic book shop at one point in my life. It didn't happen. Um, and I think for after the comic book shop didn't happen, I stopped. I kind of moved away from comics for a bit. But I kept collecting my films, and I eventually went back and I was collecting comics again. I collected quite a few. I had a kid, and I was super stoked about that. And I sold off a lot of my stuff. Unfortunately, Ollies are only in the United States, Matt. So one of my dreams is go to an Ollie's. What a dream to have, right? So Ollie's is an outlet for those that don't live in the U.S. or don't live in an area that has an Ollie's. I've seen them on different videos. I've seen like Keith show them on there, so you can get omnibuses and everything over at Ollie's, like for insanely great prices. If it wasn't for shipping costs, I would find out which of my viewers had Ollie's, and I'd set up. I'd get them to check for me, but the shipping cost is the killer part right now. But Ollie's is a great place to check for these books. You get them at discount prices, and if you live close by to one, there's a lot of graphic novels. There's a lot of like there's not just that. There's other stuff too. Yeah, I know. I'm surprised that they're still doing the graphic. Now, see, that's what happened at our Dollarama. Well, Dollarama is kind of a smaller, like it's a bargain store, much like your Dollar Giant stuff like that. So we used to have a lot of like Blu-rays and DVDs come in to our to the Dollarama. Now we get usually a little tiny bit around Halloween time, and a little bit more at Christmas. But what sells more than anything else at our Dollaramas right now are the graphic novels. So the graphic novels are selling like crazy. So it's hard to. So I try to usually get in when they come in because they're selling graphic novels that are worth sometimes out of print, sometimes are worth a ton of money for like $2, $3, $4 for a max is the max price on a graphic novel. But and those are big ones usually. Some with digital codes and everything included. Larry Hama, Mark Silvestri, Wolverine. Is that volume 3? There's 3 Wolverine omnibuses. I think there's 2 that are out right now. I haven't read a lot of Lieutenant Blueberry, but my better half has. It's a French comic, Hal. And most of the Lieutenant Blueberry that I've ever seen has been written in French. That's the thing. It's not as easy to get a lot of this stuff right now. So the fact that I can go out, and I think that's part of it too. The fact that I can go to a store, like I can walk up the road, like 10 minutes up the road to a Dollarama, walk in there, and at sometimes, not right now, there's none there right now. I like that, Joseph. Yeah, say spin at the end. They and come out with a handful of graphic novels that I'm excited about. Hell yeah. Like that's a super, this is a super cool, super exciting thing. I got a few over there that I got from Dollarama. First, I think Dollarama started out with and for those that are watching this started in the UK, you're going to know this. They started with the Eagle Moss books, like a lot of these Star Trek Eagle Moss stuff started coming to Dollarama. So we got a bunch of Star Trek Eagle Moss. And I think my better half has that movie too. I don't think I've watched it with her yet, but I'm pretty sure she had it when I met. And if not, she got it afterwards, but I know she hasn't. And then they slowly started bringing in like comics, like actual comics, like Zero Year, and like a lot of different like Spider-Man ones. And then they started doing different graphic novels, and you started to find a couple of Vertigos coming in there. So it slowly started to go in. Anyway, with that being said, guys, at 108 minutes, I've kept you guys here way too long tonight, but thank you. If you hit the like button down below, I want to, thank you so much. Adventures of the Rifle Brigade. Actually, I want to check that out. Actually, I love myself some Garth Ennis, so I'll always read Garth Ennis stuff. Last one I read, I read Planetary recently. I really, really like Planetary, but that is Ellis, so Anyway, thank you guys so much for coming in tonight, for joining me in my first ever live Cult of Comics video. It'll be going back to the regular stuff as of tomorrow. Please look out tomorrow, because I will be having a video here with Cyril at Midnight's Heath talking about the movie that scares and impressed him. What is it? Check it out tomorrow and find out. It's a short video, but if you've never checked out Cyril at Midnight, you definitely should. And we'll be talking about the movie that impressed him. And there are more of these that scares you videos that are coming out. But the inaugural one is with Cyril at Midnight, and I'm kind of excited about it. We made it today, and I just got to do a little bit of editing, and it should be up tomorrow. Runs around like 11 minutes long, so there you go. I'm Aaron. This has been the Cult of Comics. There is always another comic graphic novel. And you know what? Trust me, you may think there's not, but there is a book out there that has your name on it. Heath is a good friend and a great guy, and a guy that I definitely recommend you guys support, because he works his butt off. And like me, but he's been doing it for longer. Heath is a full-time, that's what he does, is Cyril at Midnight. He's got a cyrilatmidnight.com as a website too. I just recently started doing this as my full-time gig. So we'll see how that goes, right? Thanks for joining me tonight. Thank you so much. For those that are in my Patreon, thanks for keeping the lights on. There is going to be some new merch coming up soon. We'll be checking on that. I'll be putting out a coupon for my patrons, supporters there, for the new stuff in the merch store. I already gave you like a free shipping coupon, so there's going to be one extra coupon there. I'm going to give a beard. I would love to give a beard off. No, well, for me, this is getting trimmed down. Like this is totally getting trimmed because it's getting to the point now where I'm like, does it look nice? I think so. Uh, is it driving me up the wall? Yes, because I have to drink and eat, and then I have to go and like clean and shampoo my beard and do the whole thing. Anyway, for the thanks button, I will look into that as well because honestly, this is guys the support you give me right now means more than you can imagine. But with that being said, thank you so much. Have a wonderful night, and I will see you soon right here in Color Comics.